Hi, welcome. Suvendu Biswas. Am I getting the name right?
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, my name is Shubhendu Vishwash. You're right.
You're welcome, my brother.
Thank you so much.
I'm not sure we had you yesterday. Are you just joining us today?
Sorry, I had a meeting with Action Aid Denmark. That's why I couldn't join because of that polite.
That's fine. That's fine. We are happy to have you with us today. So we are just waiting for some more people to join before we can start the sessions for today. Hi, Thomas. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning, guys.
Great to be back.
It's great to have you back again. So we are just waiting for some more people to join because at the moment we have only 6 people on the call. So maybe we can wait for like 5 more minutes to see if others will join before we can start. We have someone new joining us today. He's in the person of Surendu Biswas. And yeah, maybe he can introduce himself to us as we would like to know him. So kindly tell us your name, where you come from, and where you work.
Yeah, thank you, Shani. My name is Shubhendu Vishwash. I'm based in Dhaka. In Bangladesh. And I have been working with Action Aid Bangladesh since January 2018. Supporting youth community of interest as well as the young people who are working on climate justice here in Bangladesh as well as in all worldwide.
Interesting. Great. Thank you very much for that brief introduction. And we are happy to have you, and you seem to have a lot of experience in the area of climate justice and on some of your knowledge and experiences in that regard as we move forward with this particular workshop.
Yeah, sure.
So we also have Thomas and Robert. Robert, maybe you and Thomas can also introduce yourself. I already know you, but I believe that Suvendi also wants to know you. So just some quick introductions while we wait for the others to join.
I'm Thomas Abuga, activist. I'm the founder and CEO of Contact Ghana, a local NGO based in Nigeria. We are into youth inclusion and women's rights. And I've been activism for about 5 years now, and I think global platform has enabled me a lot. I can still remember my first train with them.
Right.
The fire still burning. So this is a brief story about them.
Thomas.
Hi, Thomas. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
My name is Robert Sintomfia from Ghana. From Zambia.
You want to be a Ghanaian?
So my life is also in Ghana right now.
Of course.
From Zambia, I'm working with Kingdom Youth. It's a sports academy. Sport as to drive social change among youth and to youth in various areas and prevent them from engaging in vices. So that's pretty much a short view.
Great. Very much, Robert.
Hi, Robert. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
T and Foster, you're welcome back.
Are you guys introductions?
Sorry, didn't get that.
I was asking if you are doing introductions. I came in late.
Yes, so thankfully we have a new person joining us today. So we're just doing bits of introductions for him also, or who he is working with or who he's in the workshop with.
Okay, so I can.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so my name's Liz Nalumbo from Zambia. I am a youth activist and also the founder of Young Artists for Change Zambia. Yes, so I'm very excited to be part of this creative activism workshop and hoping to learn so much, excited to learn so much to apply in our work. Thank you.
Thank you. Makosi. Hi, Makosi. Okay. Are you with us? Pastor Muti? All right. Well, I think we can start now. We have, well, one person just left again. We have about 7 people now, but I think we can start and join us as we move on. Start with a little bit of a reflection from yesterday. So for those of us who are here yesterday, let's take turns and share one thing that we learned yesterday. It could be something that inspired you, something that is new for you, or something that just stood out for you throughout the sessions of yesterday. Yeah, anyone can just go, just unmute yourself and share with us what you learned yesterday. Foster, I see you. I see that we're all eager to share. So here's what we're going to do. I will be mentioning names, and if I mention your name, then you tell us what you learned from yesterday. I think that would be much more smoother. So Thomas, you can go first so that Robert will go next.
Yesterday was an intriguing day and lovely, especially learning about climate justice. And they give us about 3 approaches: policy advocacy, movement, and business development. In it, I learned a lot of things, including global ecology, and that's how I can to do it. Actually, the second part was the storytelling, the narrative, how stories can inspire, simplify stuff. Yesterday, I had some challenges connection with that one. This is my take.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing.
Yes, and yesterday we learned a lot of things. This why you missed a lot of things. So, Shani yesterday took us through the background of ActionAid and how they were dealing with problems. So, according to the history, at first it was a need-based approach. There's a need which needs to be ActionAid will come in, provide that need, and it is fostered. Then now it's about the approach they're using now is a human rights-based approach where they go in this community, they enlighten people on their rights and also encourage them in solving those problems using the rights by that go back to the group bearers, make them aware that okay, they need to. It's our right as citizens to win. Right. So it awakens the issue of working together instead of, because as an individual, they will play a different game. If you work together as a collective group to instill agency in those bearers to help out in the community.
Great, thank you very much for sharing, Robert. Foster, do you want to go next and tell us what you learned yesterday? I see that your mic is on, but we cannot hear what you're saying. So maybe you will need to check your connection. Makosi, you could go next while Foster fixes.
Very much less for me. As for me yesterday, I enjoyed the session about and also climate justice session where we're talking about ways, sustainable ways of combating climate justice. That is exactly what I can say. And also the other items, the lessons that we talked about, lobbying, negotiation, and also in creating partnerships and synergies in tackling societal.
Hi, Shani, you have to unmute.
My apologies. So I was saying that for those of us who have issues with our microphones, we could just equally send our reflections into the chat box. Read it aloud for the rest of us to also hear. You're just joining us again. I think you broke off at some point. Right now, we're just doing some reflections. So we want to know what you learned from yesterday's sessions. Don't mind, kindly share with us what your key learnings are from yesterday. Okay. There seem to be some technical issues over there too. Well, I'm actually very happy to hear from all of you and what you have learned from yesterday. That shows that at least we, the facilitators, did a little bit of a good job in sharing some knowledge and information out there. We discussed yesterday, we're going to have 2 sessions again, one this morning and one later in the day. We were expected to have someone from ActionAid Denmark to come and speak to us about the Beyond the Project challenge that we talked about. But unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to join us this morning, but we are working towards seeing that if it's possible that he joins us this afternoon to share that information. But regardless, if he's not able to join us this afternoon, we'll also just try our very best to information that he was going to share with all of us and see how we can move this forward. So that being said, we're going to replace this morning's session with the artistic activism supposed to come later in the day. And it is my hope that with all your abilities and all your and experiences that you've had in the past in activism and also social change, as to achieve the objectives of this particular session. We're going to go straight to the point, and we are going to discuss the artistic activism. Right now, presentation to share with you. Please let me know if you can see the screen and if you can see what's displayed there before.
I can see myself.
Great. Activism. The first thing I would like us to discuss is how we got engaged politically, or how we started issues of social concern of the curve. And it's just for you to think back and reflect, at which point did you decide to start speaking on social issues, or at which point did you start being activist or a social change agent? So anyone can just go and answer this. Just unmute yourself and tell us when it all started for you, or when you stepped off the curb. Hello. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Yes, first.
For me, it started in 2014.
Mm-hmm.
Then I think in our country we have the culture of like the young people, we have the culture of drugs and the alcoholism. There was a football pitch. Yeah, then through that I came across a group of who also drinking. By then we had beer, which they used to sell at we used to call it kujiri. People could come with them in class and stuff like that. So one day I thought to myself, what can we do to combat this problem? I'll help out to free out from this vice. Then I did that. Let me join this. There was a community football which was being run by some community people. So I thought to myself, can help out. So I joined. We started the negative impact of alcoholism and the drug. From there, it grew. We at least saw a bit of some change because most of them they were that's to crack. By then, beer was like so, and people were able to manage. It was difficult, but along the process, at least we saw some change and improvement in terms of our interactions. We've helped out a number of people, and that they've turned out to be good citizens.
Great. Thank you very much for sharing. And I can also see that Lizzie is saying in the chat box that 18 and that she officially became a social change activist. I want to know how it all happened. How did you start this whole being a change activist? How did it start?
So because I think I had a bit of struggles growing up, living with parents that were absent and all that. So I looked for a way I could be of relevance, that my music could be of relevance, like if I sing and then it helps somebody in one way or the other. Because the compounds I come from, the communities I teach them, similarly to what the previous comrade has given us, the issue of alcoholism, the issue of early pregnancies, and especially early pregnancies. It's like young people don't have role models to pursue education to higher levels. So you find that they don't and they drop out of school and turn to things like alcohol and all these things. So I said I want to use my music to speak to these people, and so I actively got engaged and at Zambia, and through that I've been able to use my music to influence change, to bring these people use their lives in a way that gives back to society. You know, like if one person becomes an activist for something, they might not necessarily be standing music itself, is active in doing something that causes change is what I wanted to see. And so I have been able to connect a few young people to the platform as well. Recently, I founded what we are now calling Young Artists for Change, which is targeting youth from the community to collaborate with Activism Zambia and other CSOs. Thank you.
Right. For sharing that information with us.
You're welcome.
Also wants to share. I'm also being very cautious about our time, so do this is for the rest of us to also write our reflections into the chat box. Or we can take one more person to share how they became an activist or how they started speaking on political issues.
So okay, I can say good morning.
Definitely.
Man, back to where I was, there were issues about Lobola. People were talking about paying with a blind price. So that's where it started. As it was an argument. So that argument, I said, no, one day to stand and fight injustice, which I've been seeing. People are told to pay, then their wife run away from them. Then what they paid for just remain like that. Then I said I'm going to start low so that I start speaking for people. So just from there, that's where it started. When I entered university, people who were heading the union, the guys were not really doing. I saw the people were suffering to pay their tuition fees, and the guys who were in the union were using our subscription to pay for themselves. So I said, these guys can be using their position advantage instead to advantage their people. That was my, and now I'm able to hold accountable the national leaders. So that's how I started.
Thank you very much for sharing that. That is truly inspiring. And I think, it's quite an issue over here too. And maybe after this call, I'll need to connect with you to learn some lessons from you so that I can also start a movement like that of the sort.
No problem.
Okay. We're going to move into discussing artistic activism means and to you is, what is artistic activism? What do you think artistic activism is all about? But before we get into that, Makosi just wrote something in the chat box saying that I started being political engaged in 2015 when I started an people or youth. We use messages of hope to create meaningful change. Then in 2018, we started to push the human rights, climate change, and meaningful youth engagement in leadership. We have photography, creative writings, and videography. Wow, this is beautiful. And we are very much happy to have you with us. You could also share your experiences with us, especially in this particular topic that we are going to discuss. This so much related to artistic activism, and you are basically doing that. So yes, what do you think artistic activism is all about? Who would like to go first and tell us what their thoughts are on artistic activism?
I think for me, I can go.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, what is artistic activism is where you use your skills like just drawing skills to express your displeasure a certain injustice which you are seeing in a society.
Definitely. That's true. That's very true. Any other? Someone has a different thought. Yes. Okay, I'll take one more. I promise. Just one person speaks and then we move on. Yes.
So similarly, it's just from talking about. I think it's using one's passion. Because when you are passionate about something, sort of express it well. Passionate in music, for example, which I am. I am going to use sort of express well an injustice that is happening, so that using it we can curb injustice. What I am passionate about. So it's something similar to what the colleague is just from talking about.
Of course. Great. Thank you for sharing. And I also see in the comment box that Makosi is saying artistic activism is the use of artistic skills in the fight against injustice. That is all true. And let me also share with you what I have right now. Really understand what artistic activism is, we need to separate the scenario and then to form only definition for activism. And I want you to see from the two pictures.
I can see three women on one picture, which they are flexing. I can say flexing, showing their back. Then the other one, I can see something like, I can say protesting. The color I say, oh, there is an activism there.
Right. Sure. Who else wants to share? What do you see in these two pictures? This is activism.
protesters. Yeah, some are carrying placards and so it means they are they want to remain.
Right. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, who wants to go next? I want someone to mention, and I'm just hoping that someone mentions it.
What I can see in the picture on my right is people having fun. They are enjoying themselves. They are having fun.
Yes.
And then on the left, with the activism one, these people are trying to cause change. They are voicing out. They are trying to create an impact. Cause, and so it's enjoyment and entertainment.
Thank you very much for pointing that out. So I heard that you mentioned in the picture on the right, there is some sort of celebration or happiness in there. As opposed to that on the left, you have some people who are in a way agitated and are fighting for something. The same thing. Do you think that this picture should be some sort of high energy? Yeah, something of that sort. What do others think?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Could it also be possible that the picture on the right
it is possible, yes.
Because like people are dancing and like they're flexing.
It doesn't matter on how you can show your displeasure towards it. Because activism, that's why you are looking happy while singing, but you are sending a message. There was a sort of emulate of whatever happened, which they were trying to show a displeasure that no, this, then it means that doing this, so we are doing this in this way. It is like even those people who can be naked while they are protesting.
Right. Interesting. So I just, yeah, please go on.
I wanted to ask. What?
Okay. I was asking, it's different from happiness, even though people are dancing and
Oh yeah, so I'm going to give a practical example. There are songs. It's moving well. So it's possible that displeasure, but also look forward to enjoyment what they're doing. Yeah, so that's my take.
Definitely, definitely. So yes, I wanted us to explore this because we'll be discussing further as we move on. But art is a particular piece of art differently. You know, like you mentioned, you can look at this and see people who, and you could also look at it and think maybe they are in a funeral ground and like they are dancing, they are doing a local dance. It's subjective to like different opinions, and that's the beauty of art, right? So activism is more about effect. Then again, I want to ask those of us here who are who are the Queen's cousins and know the English language so well. When we say effect, what does it mean? One?
Cause I think
Effect is to cause.
effect.
Interesting. A different opinion.
It's a change. You are making a change. It's a change which an action brings.
Effect is the consequence of action.
Is the consequence more about, you know, with all the campaigns, all the advocacy, and all the work that we do in activity, every day we achieve a certain change or we achieve a certain effect that matter. So that is what activism is, to create a change or an impact at the end of the day. Affect.
It's kind of influencing something.
Any other? What's a different opinion, maybe?
I think having an impact on
something, of course. Can we have one more?
Why can't I say just to be touched or moved?
To be touched or moved. Exactly. So what we affect has to do with emotions, you know, or being touched by something. Having been introduced to something that moves you from a different, what it affects our emotions and makes us to have like that inward conversation. You can look at a piece of anger and an effect on you, you know. Art does to us. You can be listening to music and like you're just in your feelings about a particular thing at that time. Duty of art makes us feel whatever message that is being sent across. So when we look at artistic activism, we are looking at the effects and the effects We're looking at the emotions of people, and we are looking at a change in the end. So when you look at the affect side, and it says that emotions without impact, any piece of art at all, be it poetry, have you to do something, but then that emotional feeling would be there. And when you activism, an impact, or most of the times without emotions. So for example, if I come and like I give you, let's say a 10-page document on a particular issue that is affecting my community, chances are you might read the whole 10 documents and you will see maybe the sort of impact that can happen or the sort of impact that I'm looking for. Would perhaps move you towards taking an action on that particular issue. So when we are talking about artistic activism, we are looking at two things together. So one, we are going to arouse the emotions of people to create an impact at the end of the day. And you would agree with me that there are certain emotions that people to take action on any at all that we are doing our advocacy or activism on. Activism is all about bringing about the emotions so that at the end of the day, we can have an impact. Activism is the combination of the emotional appeal of art, the impact-oriented ways of activism together so that at the end of the day, we can people and at the same time create an impact. I hope that sinks in very well. Explain that. I'm looking for feedback here.
It is well.
Okay. I heard just one voice. How about others? Are we all okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So we can move forward. Take a look at some examples of artistic activism. You can draw some inspirations and learn from some of these examples so that if we are also going to use artistic activism, we'll be able to do it right. That these examples are not comprehensive, so it doesn't cover everything that has to do with artistic activism, and it doesn't cover you need to know about artistic activism, because for a fact we all know that art is from creativity, and creativity has to do with bringing on something new, right? So these examples are just there to guide us and sort of like inspire us to create something on our own. These examples, or before we take a look at them, we should also learn. Some of these examples we are going to present here for you, or they will not work for you, are from different contexts, different parts of the world. So when you take a particular example, you will need to see if it actually fits in your context or not. And chances are it might not really fit in there and might not necessarily work for you. Context matters a lot. What's happening in Zambia, for instance, might not be the same thing that's happening in Ghana or Bangladesh. You consider your local context before you pick any artistic in order to bring about change. Of course, creativity comes from combination, and I'm very happy to know that we have photographers, we have singers, we have visual artists, and activists amongst us. When we bring all these things together, we can combine it and create something that is going to inspire people to actually take an action and create change in the end. So, while we are looking at the examples, we are also going to we can draw from it. And the first lesson that I want to share with you is to go where the people are. We are going to use this as an example amongst us, and especially for those of us who are from Accra or Kumasi and other parts of the country where they use the trotro buses. That is like the mini buses. You can talk more about this particular picture that you are seeing. So I will give that chance to you if you are from Ghana and from Accra or Kumasi about these people, the preachers in the trotro buses. Anyone? My people, don't desert me. Oh.
Probably someone is advertising something.
Yes, Moro. Moro Ali.
Yes.
Yeah, do you want to say something about the trotro buses, the preachers in the trotro buses?
Teachers in the trotro buses.
Yes, please.
Okay, you mean Ashanti regime here, or?
Yes, in Ashanti reading, what happens to these guys, the preachers in the trotro buses? What do they do?
Oh, most especially, then they also preach against other of the president. And then and then the most
yeah.
I bet the buses too.
Of course, thank you very much for sharing. So with these people, what they do is that they the mini transport, public transport buses from one point to another, they preach the gospel, or they preach about the Bible to the people in the public transport. And it's a very effective way to actually reach out to people and also learn from them to do what we call go to people are. They have chosen to go where their audience are to preach their message to them. This is a good thing, is that if you are an artistic activist and you want to do an artistic action, particular issue, like say climate change, and then you go and book like a cinema or a concert stage, and then you are waiting for people to come in, chances are there might be people coming in to witness what is happening. So another chance that people might not necessarily come, or maybe the number of people who would come in would not be to your satisfaction. What you can also consider is to take your message to where you think your audience are and deliver the message to them. Interesting thing that we can learn from the preachers in the trotro buses. Provocation. provocation. Something small about provocation.
I think provocation to make someone react. You do something with a view that this person is going to react.
Definitely. Doing something out of the ordinary so that people will react to what you are doing. So you are provoking their thoughts or you are provoking their feelings. Now, there's these two artists in Ghana. They are a duo called the Fucking Boys. One Love Kubolo and Mensa. My Ghanaian colleagues in this meeting. Something small about these guys. Okay, so these guys are not the regular kind of artists that we have in Ghana, because with almost all the musicians we have, they are all just doing their own thing, making money, talking about some issues that affect the society. But with these particular artists, what they do is that all their songs are in a way provocative. They have songs on they have songs about how Accra is filthy. They have songs about many other issues that affect the society. And when you look at this guy, who is called One Love Kubolo, his sense of fashion too is provocative. Men or guys don't wear this thing that he's wearing. And like it's just a piece of cloth that he used to cover on the waist. But this is something that is straight out of the ordinary in Ghana here. And when you ask him, he will say that he is not conforming to the norm that everyone must dress the same based on a particular gender or based on what society says that they should dress like. Sense of fashion alone is provocative. And to add to that, all his songs are also in a way provocative. He names and shames the politicians. He talks about issues that affect the community in ways that would let you like really think about these issues and perhaps also take a stand. I think that we can also learn from them, which is, using our messages in the way that it is provocative. Almost all their songs are also in the local dialect and also in Pidgin. Pidgin is a form of broken or slang that most young people speak in Ghana here. So it actually connects people more to some of the other artists who usually just sing in English language, which maybe not everybody actually understands. Example and a lesson we can learn is to use spectacle to present your politics or to present your message performance. And we are driving this from these two iconic rappers from Senegal. They are called the Journal Rappé. They have a YouTube channel, and their YouTube link is in here if you also want to get to know them. I'm also going to put it in the chat box so that you can and watch what they do for yourself, and maybe you can learn a thing or two out of it. Guys, what they do is that they pick national and international news to Wolof, which is the local most common spoken language in Senegal, and they wrap the news to their audience. It's young people. Because they feel like young people do not like to listen to the news or watch the news on TV, which sometimes contains a lot of information that young people should actually know about their country and the world. Solving that problem or their way of combating that is to translate into the local dialect that even young people who are out of school can also comprehend, and they wrap it, make it really interesting or make it more appealing to the young people. Honestly, personally, when I was also growing up, I never really liked the news. Anytime I was watching TV and my dad comes in to change to a news channel, then I'll get up and leave because I didn't like watching the news because I didn't really it, especially with the way it was presented. But I'm sure if I had Anna here who had also presented the news in a form that I really like because I like music, then chances are I would have also, participated in that. So yeah, the message here is that we should present our politics like a performance so that we enjoy and at the same time learn something from it. Example, and the lesson we can learn from this example is that style matters. And we are drawing this from the South Africa's economic freedom fighters. We had our first image with the art and then the protesters. Someone mentioned about Julius Malema. I can't remember who that was though.
It's me.
Christopher. So maybe you can talk a little about Julius Malema, and if you know something about the freedom fighters, you can tell us something small.
Julius is the kind of a guy who is passionate about that, which because that is and the philosophy is to free the Africans. They should have economic freedom. He's saying that the South Africans
Christopher, I think is quite hard to. Okay, yes, we can get you now.
Hello.
Yeah, hi. We can hear you now.
Are the comrades able to get what I'm saying?
Yes, we are now.
Yeah, hi, Christopher. We can hear you. Okay, I think he has problems with his internet connection. Okay, so the economic freedom fighters are a group of makers in South Africa. They're in the South African Parliament, and they represent the masses, or they represent the working class of South Africa. They are always making arguments against policies that do not seek to issues of the working classes or the working masses of South Africa. And they also speak a lot about racism and separation and division and the inequalities that is in the South Africa at the moment. With this particular outfit, with the overalls and the helmets, is in a way of visually representing the people that they stand to fight for. They are working for, or they are fighting for the rights of masses, which is usually the working class people in South Africa. It visually represents them in Parliament. Picture alone, then, it gives you that feeling that they represent something with the way they are dressed alone. That your style matters. Next, how they dress to what they actually represent, you see that there is a clear flow in that. This is something that we can also learn from the South Africa economic freedom fighters. There are a lot of examples that I could share with you, but because of time, I'm going to limit. This is because this particular workshop is actually a 5-day intensive workshop that we are trying to compress and do in like 3 days and in some few hours. if I can't go through all the examples we have in here. But we can also look at this particular example from Ghana, and from it is that we should embrace emotions. And of course, like we mentioned before, art is about appealing to people's emotions and moving them from one state to another. This lady right here is called Akosua Hansen, and she's the founder of Drama Queens. Drama Queens is like a club that does plays, and they talk about issues that affect women that maybe people feel really uncomfortable to talk about, like issues like rape, abortion, you know, and all the other issues that society, especially in Africa, tends to shun away from. That they some of these emotions during their stage play so that their viewers can also see and possibly feel some of the emotions that women actually go through is that affects them. So it's a very powerful also consider using that without artistic actions, no matter what it is, if it is visual art, performing art, spoken word and whatnot, to embrace emotions and try to reflect those emotions in our artworks. Also, you know, connect to people at a certain level that they would buy into whatever we are saying and possibly take a stand or take an action against the issues that we talk about. This is another powerful example that I cannot just ignore. Power through humor, and this has proven to work so much for this particular artist in Ghana. He's called Brighter Kwe, and he does a lot of cartoons that mimics society. And this is next works that he did on illegal mining in Ghana here. This is actually a very big issue that's into fight. There are a lot of people who are doing illegal mining in sites that are deep in the forest. These forests are actually the lungs of Ghana, essentially, because like forests that perhaps people do not even want to tamper with. But these illegal miners go in there, destroy the vegetation, destroy the forest, and they do illegal mining, which in turn doesn't really bring any revenue to the country. A cartoon piece on this. And if you come to Ghana, you realize that most of the illegal mining sites are owned by the Chinese people and managed by the Chinese people, yes? So Brighter Kwe did this work, and he had an exhibition where he displayed this work. That the Chinese ambassador actually visited to inquire more about how this particular piece of art came to being and what was his inspiration to do it. Several articles were also written about this particular piece, and as you can read from here, and especially the part that is circled, it says that it is a strong worded letter to the Ministry of Land and Natural Resources. The Chinese embassy in Ghana urged the government to check the media and stop the publications of what is described as cartoons. Traveled so far that a lot of media houses actually shared it, and the Chinese embassy had to even write a letter to the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources about this particular piece of art. When you look at the piece of art, you would think that it's just something that is like, you know, a joke. Fact that it has made. You know, it has made the government alert about some of these issues. It has also made the Chinese people alert about the issue of illegal mining in Ghana. This is another very interesting example, and learn is that we can sleep under the radar doing our artistic activism. been speaking for a very long time, and I just want to pause here and see if we have any questions or concerns before I move forward. And there's a message in the chat box. Let me just read it out before we continue. In Zambia, we have an artist by the name of Chama Fumba, popularly known as Pilato, and Laura. These have their own way of a number of issues. Thank you for sharing that example with us too. And again, I asked if maybe someone has a question or reflection on what I have presented on so far before we move forward. Questions going once, going twice. All right, so yes, I was talking about this particular example, which is slip under the radar. Now let's look at what the artist does before we come back to the lesson that we can learn from it. He decided one day that he was going to block by drying his clothes on a bridge that was widely used by Senegalese and people who have to go to work from one place to another, warning that he was going to wash and dry his clothes across the road or across that particular bridge. Shortly after this, he disappeared and no one knew where he went. In fact, if not for the people who were there when he was doing it, no one actually he was until he came out to do an interview about it. And his rationale for doing that was, and according to the person who, what he said was that he felt that the country belonged to everyone and money how they want or actually use public so he felt like as a citizen the bridge was also his
done those acts. For example, the same guy that went on the bridge and washed his clothes there, and also the guy that made a cartoon about illegal mining in Ghana, in Senegal. Is it Senegal? Yeah, it well. So by that,
Thank you very much for sharing. To share? Yeah, Lizzie.
I think with what we shared, the effect and affect principles of creative activism, we can tell that it works because it sort of provokes people's emotions, and words it sort of there's in this type, so people just can't help but pay attention to what is happening. Yes.
Definitely. Thank you very much for sharing. This is how you know if it actually works. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, do I want to happen? Or what do I want to have happen after my artistic action? And then you also ask yourself, what did happen? Or what else happened? The question is, what do I do next? So this is in the form of evaluating what you have done. And we'll also be talking about this more in the next coming days. Artistic actions, it is planned, how it is implemented, and we are also going to look at how we can evaluate and see what worked or what didn't work so well for us and what we can do differently next time. So when you evaluate your artistic action at the end of the day and what you wanted to happen in the artistic action actually happened, then you can say that it has worked. If something else happened, then you can see what you can do about that, whether to do something differently next time or to improve upon what you did in a way. So we are going to again pause here and short break. And yesterday I said that we can take 5 minutes break, but unfortunately some of us took more than 10 minutes. Just employing all of you to be back on time so that we can actually close, because we ended up closing about 10 minutes late than we were supposed to yesterday, and I wouldn't want that to happen again today. Let's just take 5 minutes to just go off the screen a bit, maybe do some stretching, drink water, or whatever it is that we want to do, so that we will be back here at exactly or whatnot. But let's take 5 minutes, and after the 5 minutes, back here to continue what we have. And thank you so much for your participation so far. Hi, welcome back. Daniel, what's happening in your background? Yeah. Okay, so we just wait some few minutes for the rest of us to join before we continue, because at the moment we have only 5 people in the meeting. Hi, Daniel. All right, so kindly turn off the mic for us, please. Thank you. Hey, welcome. 4 more to go. Jesus Cristo. If it doesn't cover all the histories of artistic activism, the examples are not necessarily be artistic activism in a way, or might not necessarily see it as such. But yeah. So these are some examples of have that are really quite activism or have an element or some sort of teaching that we can learn or something that we can use in our artistic activism. So we have Jesus of Nazareth, we have Prophet Muhammad, we have EKJC, we have Victor Owaifo, called Azonto Dance, Atao Aido, we have Yvonne Nelson, we have Fucking Boys, and Nakia Hansen. We have seen some of these examples already in the previous module, so we might not necessarily visit them. These things too, we'll have to skip them because of time. Make sure that we send the whole presentation to you so that you can also look into it and permit. And again, I say that you can feel free to always reach out to us if anything is confusing for you, need modification information on some of the things that's in the presentation. And we're going to start with Jesus of Nazareth. All right. What do we see in this picture? What you see in the picture? Anyone?
The Legos.
You see the Legos, yeah, of course. Okay.
The Legos of see, they are men. different. So different characters.
Okay.
So there I can see a captain. Yeah, they're different.
Okay. Great. Who else is thinking?
So I'm assuming, since it's under the theme Jesus of Nazareth, there is Jesus himself and his disciples.
Okay, it's assumption. So where is Jesus? Maybe you can point out who Jesus
or
is.
Maybe I can.
Right.
Okay. Yes. Something?
Another addition. Yes. I can see somebody who is leading them and their followers behind.
Okay. Yes. You're all right. It's actually Legos. Jesus Christ and like the story of Jesus Christ. You mentioned the person leading them is Jesus, and the others at the back there are the followers. So we look at the pictures, and then we can see what we can learn from the pictures and what lessons we can draw from them. Very familiar with the Christ, and if you are very familiar with the Bible, you might know where this particular Lego. So who can tell us what they see in this picture and which part of the Bible is talking about?
I can see Jesus. Money dropped down. According to the story of Jesus, that should be the guy found people doing business in the house of the Lord. So he's taking down the tables and things like that.
Of course. Exactly that. So here, the lesson learned from this is politics, and this is quite linked with that example we shared earlier on about the journal rapé. So, like so politics is that when you look at what should happen in this scene, what I've done is just to, as of the Lord, stand there and say everybody should stop doing this here. Everybody should leave and not a place of business or doing markets. I chose rather to push and destroy things, free some of the birds, created a scene that demonstrated what he actually wanted the people to understand. I personally believe that he had just stood about it, he may not have achieved as he did, rather than to destroy some of the things that were there or to push some of the money away and all that. That we can learn this particular in history that we can also apply in our article. So with artistic action, you need to demonstrate for people to see. So when you're talking about climate change and how it affects individuals in the community, you need to let them see through your performance or through your art that you're talking about, rather than just maybe standing there and saying it. But this picture,
I think it's a continuation.
But what Jesus will do something in the previous one. So what is he doing in this particular picture? You can speak, and the pastor you can also say that.
So what I think is happening here is Jesus is speaking, and he's not speaking a crowd of followers, but people as well. I listening to him.
Right. The first Timothy.
This is what I wanted to say, but I can just say Jesus, I'm just narrating a simple, like, there are different types of in that picture which depicts he was not just with his disciples, but he was in a crowd of people where he was delivering a message.
Delivering a message, of course. So this is what we can actually learn from the particular picture. Is that make the message dearest. So especially we are Christians, or especially some of the meeting or Christians, maybe we believe that Jesus had a message for us, right?
Yes.
What was the message?
To preach the gospel.
To preach the gospel. Yeah.
I think Jesus' message was salvation. He emphasized that people need to be saved. So yeah.
And we also attest to the fact that message Jesus also brought someone we're not entirely new. Actually, within a particular region of the world, and talked about is that Jesus also came and reinforced about in his messages. It was not just that it was his message. All the other people that he was encountering with and he was speaking to, you would realize that there was a lot of possibly beliefs, and people were worshiping idols and were considering themselves as above all other people and required people to tax and everything. But Jesus' message came to express that all human beings are unequal and live life in unison and together without feeling above each other and all that. The lesson we can also learn from this particular message is that we should always be the message about our audience rather than ourselves. So, for example, if maybe your organization or your movement are doing an artistic action, the message you are sending is not centered on the people or on your audience, but rather you as a movement or as an organization should actually get the listening ear of the audience, because they will feel that you're just doing something to please perhaps your donors or to please some other people rather than addressing their issues. Always make the message about your audience rather than you yourself. By particular issue in a particular community, or create some of these interventions or some of the advice messages, so that they feel part of it and they feel that the message is theirs rather than you coming to impose on it. How about this picture? What can we say about this? Anyone?
Okay, after this picture, according to the story of Jesus, Jesus was left at some place preaching. There is the disciples went on
of course. They were amazed. They really that's the disciples some of Jesus' followers had for him. He presented it in a way that it was totally amazing and totally right? So this, we are active advocates and we have a lot of experience when it comes to without a normal way of doing activism and advocacy. When I think you step further, something that is your audience done, so that they can see that this is a very new thing that someone is bringing forward that can have more potential. Speckle. Do something straight out of the ordinary and act out for people to see. How is that?
I think is the Last Supper where he was eating with the disciples.
Yeah. Someone tell me who this guy is. this guy. Why would you say that is Judas?
Different one in appearance, and especially that his face is black. They are not colored. That's
of course, and he sent them to enjoy the food. This rather telling me that he's glad to join them and that he should. We can actually learn from this is we need to prepare. If you're familiar with the story of the Last Supper, what just said that one of the disciples would betray him, right? So he knew what was going to happen, and he told the disciples about it, and actually happened in the end, right? What we can also do is to a utopia, a world where that issue that we're all confronting does not exist. And perhaps buy into the idea, if we are doing artistic action together, I'm sure, and as part of it, paint a picture of a world where there is no climate change, world where there is no deforestation, there is no illegal mining, no bad farming practice and all that. You make people see that that particular world we are painting is quite a beautiful one of to be inside. So help them to also understand what you are fighting for. You need to prepare the picture, paint a picture of what that future looks like so that your audience can see. There are more examples. Some of them, because of time. Yes, one that we will need to discuss before we move forward. In this picture,